One day, Krista approached me and she said the wildest thing to me. She said, Kevin, I want you to write this book. I want to expose myself so the priesthood, the muscular priesthood of Father Flum can be exposed to show what he did for me during COVID-19. I mean, this is my name is Kevin Wells, and I'm here with my wife, Krista. We're married 25 years, and I'm here to discuss the story of our lives. I've just released a book, or Ignatius Press has just released a book called The Hermit, the priest who saved a soul, a marriage, and a family. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about our story. I had brain surgery in 2009 and came about this close to dying. I had unsuccessful brain surgery. Something supernatural sort of unfolded in the room, and I was healed, miraculously healed. And when I got home, everything changed. Why wouldn't it change? You're kind of dumb if it doesn't change. I began to see the world differently because I was close to dying and I didn't know if I was set right for judgment. One of the things that happened was I began to intensify my desire to get to know God.
Once Kevin really deepened his faith and was turning more to God, I became afraid. And that's when a lot of the wounds inside me really started to surface. I had a lot of fear and shame. And so as he was growing closer to his faith and to God, I went the other direction. And that's when I started to drink more and kind of went and escaped from my wounds.
Things just really got worse. I remember our first fight when I addressed some empty wine bottles I had found, and I was hoping that night that Krista would sort of expose long-held wounds or things from the past and just say, Kevin, help me get through this. But instead, it was the opposite. It's like, why are you picking on me? And
yeah, you were the enemy.
Yeah,
you were the enemy, and I did. I felt entitled to drink. I felt like I worked hard all day, and I was going to sit down and have a glass of wine.
But as time went on, I won't say I grew despairing, but I was pretty darn close. And I was on retreat one Advent, and I guess it was 2016, and in the confessional, I confessed my despair to this priest who I'd never seen before. He had a big Old Testament bushy beard, looked like Ezekiel, and he just spoke to me with so much wisdom, almost like he was an Old Testament prophet. Like Anthony from the cave, and he said, Kevin, do you want to carry this cross from your wife? And I said, of course I do. And he said, okay, well, you need to be patient. You need to surrender everything that you once knew and nail your unknowingness of Krista's recovery to the cross and trust in God's providence. But you must be patient. So we talked, but that night after confession, I sort of tracked him down. I said, Father Flum, would you come to our house for dinner? I wanted to come for dinner. I want you to meet my wife. And he said, sure, Kevin, I would.
Yeah, sweet Kevin does not like to write dates down in his calendar, so he forgot that Father Flum was coming over for dinner and did not tell me. So he is in Jamaica on a mission trip, and it was late, I want to say around 8 o'clock at night, and there's this knock on the door, and it's Father Flum coming over for dinner. I had been drinking, and I was just not going to have it. I was not going to let him come in, and I turned him away. I told him Kevin wasn't here, and
slammed the door in his face.
I did slam the door.
The holiest priest that Krista's ever met in her life, and maybe I've ever met. That's how Krista greeted Father Flum. So Krista texted me in Jamaica, and I get a text that was like fire coming out of my phone. How dare you invite a priest to dinner and not tell me about it? Good plan. And I said, oh man, I'm in the doghouse when I get home. But the great grace is Krista, shortly thereafter, had heard about this mission that I was on in Jamaica. It was for really the poorest of the poor, the developmentally disabled, the emotionally disabled, kind of a womb-to-tomb community. And Krista jumped in and she actually said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And it was during that time of Krista going down to Jamaica on these trips that she felt this pull to God. One day, Krista came up to me and said, you know, Kevin, I'd like to try a silent women's retreat, the first one ever. And I was like, answered prayers.
So the retreat started on Friday, and every Friday night, it's open for confession. And I am in line, you know, trying to decide there's two priests here, Father Fish and another priest, Father Flum. And at that point, I had completely forgotten about Father Flum and what happened and just put that out of my mind. And so I'm in line waiting to go to confession, and I text Kevin, because Kevin knows every priest. And I ask him, you know, who should I go to confession to? There's Father Fish and Father Flum.
And how did I answer?
Immediately, he texts back, all caps, go to Father Flum. And I went into the confessional, and, you know, face to face, the confession had just ended, and I had no idea who Father. I didn't recognize him, and at the end of the confession, Father Flum recognized me and said, "You're Krista. You're the one that slammed the door on my face." That was the first time that I really exposed the drinking and the shame that I had deep inside. When I was a kid, you know, just a lot of shame that I never shared, and that's where it all started with Father Flum.
Years went by, and Krista was healing. I could see the light in her eyes. I could still see that the little demons, the ghosts were still in her, but she was healing. Now, what prompted the book, The Hermit, was this. Sort of at the precipice of Krista really making strides. The pandemic came in 2020, in March 2020, and we all remember what happened. Within a few days, a few weeks, there was a moratorium on the sacraments, a moratorium on the masses, a moratorium on all the very things that Father Flum encouraged Krista to do to heal these wounds. And the church shuts down worldwide. The pilot light blinked out. The votive candles were blown out. Churches were locked. And I was scared to death. I was scared to death. One priest said, no, I'm not shutting down. No, I'm going to intensify my priesthood. I'm not so concerned about a COVID-infected body. I'm concerned about the souls that I have been ordained to save. So when COVID came, he opened up. And our honeymoon of our marriage really picked up when Krista and I began that very beginning of the COVID season to drive the back roads of Southern Maryland to attend Mass every morning. We would hop in the car around 5:15, but we knew that our marriage, Krista, our family, everything was healing because we were being sacramentalized. For us, anyway, Krista, I think it's fair to say, COVID-19 was the greatest year of our life.
It was.
Sounds crazy, but it was. Father Flum broke Krista's heart about a year and a half after COVID and told Krista, Mary's been pulling at me for a long time now to give over, to surrender the rest of my life to her, to God, as a hermit, as a consecrated hermit. When I finished the book, I thought I had written a book, a story, a tale about the dark night of marriage and what a priest does to heal it, how a priest behaves during COVID, what a muscular priest looks like, a big bearded, cassock wearing, ascetic priest does, who becomes a hermit. So it was really a book that I thought was going to show what a holy, strong priest looked like, but after the release of the book, people began to reach out to me and said, Kevin, no, this book isn't about that. This book is about what spouses do for one another in marriage. And this book is about how to handle the dark nights of our life. If you have struggles, and maybe there's despair in your life, or maybe you don't see hope, there's not even a pinhole of hope anymore, I do encourage you to read The Hermit, to purchase The Hermit. Ignatius.com, you can find it there, or on Amazon or your local Catholic bookstore. But it opens up the dark night and how the dark night can be overcome by the sanctifying graces of the sacraments, by never giving up, by trusting fully in God, surrendering your unknowingness to the cross, nailing it to the cross, and sort of taking to the hard wood of the cross as a spouse.